All right, gang. Hope you're doing well and beating the coronavirus blues. Today we're going to do a couple of licks and tricks from Pete Townshend. Certainly rock's one of rock's greatest writers, and one of rock's greatest guitarists too. Certainly he was very influential to me. Probably the first influential rock guitarist when I was starting to play rock. That's who I was listening to. I love Pete Townshend's play. So we're going to do a couple just touching the surface of what he was doing. We'll do that lick right there, or that famous riff from Won't Get Fooled Again. We'll do the chords, the voicings, and the timing, which is so key on so much of Pete's stuff. We'll also do this. I can't resist doing this little lick that I always loved, his sort of tremolo, go nuts tremolo lick. That's an awesome lick. At the end, we'll also explore a little bit about how he could take folky type playing and make it nice and punchy and make it a rock and roll type of thing using open chords, folk sort of chords, but still giving it rock punch. All right, we'll do all of that coming right up. Okay, gang, let's go. Here, first up is this one. Obviously a very iconic riff, one of the most iconic riffs in all of rock and roll, the riff from Won't Get Fooled Again. Really important one to know, or a great one to know, because there are so many related riffs. I mean, check this one out. I'm sure you'll recognize that one, AC/DC's Highway to Hell. Very, very similar riff. And so you get this one down, you can certainly play that and many others. So let's start out with the basic chords are basically A, G, and D. All right, but each one has a different sort of voicing, and so let's go over those voicings. The first is probably one of the most famous Pete voicings. It's an A with the thirds taken out and played in a higher, the top two strings are played in a high register. It's this right here. I'll play it slowly and then I'll go over the notes. Incidentally, when you're playing Won't Get Fooled Again, this is rock and roll, so you don't have to play it exact, all right? This is just guidelines. All right, but for this one, we've got fifth string open, fourth string 2, third string 2, second string 5, first string 5. All right, so that's that one. Now we'll go to the G. That was the A. Now here's the G. Also a specially voiced chord, taking out the thirds. So we've got on the sixth string, we've got the third fret. Fifth string, we've got nuttin'. It's dead. I'm blocking that with my second finger. Fourth string is open. Third string is open. Second string is 3. And first string is third fret. So we've got. All right, so that's that one. Pete played that one a lot. A lot of players play that one a lot now. Tony Rice in bluegrass used to always play it, so I used to call it the Tony Rice G, but of course Tom Petty would do stuff like that. Anyway, it's a G with the thirds taken out, just like the A was. All right, the last one is this, and that's just a D, which, by the way, you can play that as an alternative and it sounds great, right? So if I don't play this bottom string, that sounds great. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, but if you want to just play an ordinary D chord, right, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to wrap around your thumb and play the sixth string, you want to play on that second fret, that's great. So that's a D with an F sharp bass. So I'm playing the second fret on the sixth string, deadening that fifth string with the thumb, and that's kind of tough to do, so practice that if you're not used to the thumb playing. Fourth string is open, third string is on the second string is on the third, and the first string is on the second. All right, so that's our voicings. Let's do the timing to this riff now. So important to get because Pete often does it this way, and it is kind of tricky. So Pete often anticipates the one of the next measure by doing a flurry of chords leading into the measure. This is no exception here. That's what he does. I'm sure you noticed that there was a, it's not just a, it's, so how those two thwacks come in before the main chord is kind of interesting. So let's count it out because it is kind of tricky. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So you'll notice that it comes in on the and of 4, right? 4 and 1. That gets held for a measure, and then on the next measure it's a 1 and. That's when you play the G on the and of 1, 2, and. That's when you play the D. Let's move on to the lick now that I think is so cool. Let's call it the Go Nuts Tremolo lick over basically an A minor pentatonic, which is kind of interesting. And then he rips out this one. I'll try and get it right this time, but you know, it's rock and roll, so he plays it so freely. It's so neat. Such a cool lick, and it's so Pete. Now, how does he do that one? Where does it come from? Well, here's an interesting thought, and you can use this. I never really thought about it too much until recently. It's a C major triad that he's doing there. Why the heck does he play a C major triad? Why would that work? Well, it actually makes perfect sense. So on this, we're playing basically an A and a G. This A minor pentatonic is working for him, and that's what he's playing here for. Right? So that's an A minor pentatonic. Now, what is if we think of A minor, what is the major that's associated with that? Well, C, of course. So C major should work on C minor, and so if we play any sort of C major triad, duh, it's probably going to work. And that's what he does up here. He's just playing a pure C major triad. Here is the root on the 2nd string, 13th fret. The 3rd is on the 1st string, 12th. And the 5th of the chord is on the 3rd string, 12th. So we've got... But of course he's tremolo picking that and just kind of going nuts. And at the same time he's giving it some vibrato. So he's moving this up and down. And then he plays this. Such a cool sound to that. So that's on the 2nd string, 13 and 12. And then 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string. He's playing that C triad through it. And again, giving that lots of vibrato. And then coming down to this A minor pentatonic again. Now there's lots of different ways to play this, but I like the way that he just kind of slides down to the 1st and he's getting ready to play that power A chord. So now slide down to the 2nd. You know, you can slide down to the 3rd if you want. It doesn't really matter. I like sliding down to the 2nd. And then and that's our power A. Isn't that a cool lick? I just love it. All right, last up we're going to explore how Pete could take a folky sort of chord progression and make it a little more rock friendly. And we're going to do that with the opening to Pinball Wizard, which kind of goes like this. right, we won't do any more of that. I'm mostly just interested in that beginning part, which is way cool. The whole thing is cool, but for purposes today, just cover this. What's interesting in this is he's kind of doing a double pedal. He's doing a pedal on the top string, for the most part, using an open E string, and he's using a pedal which he repeats rhythmically on the 4th string, 4th fret, which is an F sharp. So we're going to start out with a B minor with an F sharp bass, which is this. All right, on the 4th string, that's 4, 4 on the 3rd, 3 on the 2nd, and 2 on the 1st. And then we're going to repeatedly hit that 4th string. Next chord is just opening up that top E. Okay, next chord is really interesting. It's an open, it's basically an added 2nd chord. All right, so this one is 4, 4, 2 on the 2nd string, and then open on the 1st string. This is basically an F sharp chord, F sharp major. We've got 4, 3, 2, and open. Now we'll go to an F sharp minor. This is a tough one because I'm using my 1st finger to play on both the 3rd and 2nd strings. Kind of tough. So we've got 4, 2, 2, and open. It's hard to get that top one open, so you got to lift your finger a little bit. It's hard to do. That's a really super cool chord, isn't it? That's 4 and open, open, open. And now we've got a G. Now, if you really want to do it right, you should probably use your thumb, wrap around and play the G, or play this and deaden some of the strings and just play this G in the 2nd and 1st strings, or I'm sorry, the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings open like this. But anyway, really cool. And what I love about it is how Pete uses both the pedal on the top. It's very folky to use these sort of open chords and to have them moving. But I love how he rocks it up on the bottom, and it really sets it up well for the repeated lick that's going to be going back to this B major. So it's basically started in B minor, and then we'll come to basically a suspended chord to a B major, essentially. Right? Well, all right, gang, there we go. Pete Townshend, a couple of his licks and tricks, just the surface. Certainly one of rock's greatest writers and guitarists. Hope you enjoy this kind of stuff as much as I do. We'll see you on down the road, and until then, stay safe.